Well, I finished my 58-minute and 50-second workout. Thank you very much. So there. I should get a trophy. And a cookie. Or a trophy in the shape of a cookie. With cookies in it. I don't really know how that would work. I do know that I'm an idiot, so there's that. What is going on, guys? My name is Sarah, and I hope each and every one of you is having an absolutely wonderful day. Thank you so much for joining me yet again, and welcome to the 6th installment of the Zwift Academy Road Workout Series, here from my living room Transformers pain cave, as it were. But we are rounding the corner into the home stretch of the Zwift Academy Road Series with 3, soon to be 2 workouts left remaining prior to graduation, and not a minute too soon, because in the next few days, Zwift Academy Try is going to be starting, and I'll be engaging in that academy as well, and I hope that you will join me. Even if you're not a triathlete, those workouts have historically been very strong in their aerobic and sustained effort profile, and they will be useful for any type of cyclist, whether or not you are interested in triathlon. So I'm going to be doing a series on that as well, and I really do hope that you will follow along and maybe dabble in some of the running workouts as well, just to push yourself outside of your comfort zone. Yes, I'm talking to you, pure roadies. Push yourself outside of your comfort zone. But at any rate, let's talk about today's workout, and it's workout number 6. It is the alternative sprints workout. Now, this is an extrapolation on workout number 2, which was sprint capacity. You should be taking into this workout a lot of lessons learned. Hopefully, you're following these workouts in order, because you're going to have some baseline numbers for your seated sprints for both 10 and 20 seconds that you can expound upon to get a baseline for your standing and seated efforts to come in this workout for both 10 and 20 seconds. You should have some idea of what you want to do in terms of fueling for this type of effort. You should have learned something from workout number 2 that you can carry into this workout. You should have a good handle on what gearing you're going to use when you go into your sprints. That's obviously a very important factor, especially for those people using erg mode. You should know where you're going to set your gearing so that when the resistance turns off, you will already have your gearing prepared for those high level efforts. You should have a good concept of your form and cadence so that as you expound upon that in terms of your standing and maximum efforts, you will know what's going on. What delineates this from workout number 2 is a couple of things. You're going to have some additional intervals in this effort, so it's going to be by default a little bit more difficult. You're also going to have a lot more variety. You're going to have more 20-second efforts. If you remember, in workout number 2, we only had one right at the very end. Also, if you remember, in my workout 2 video, I spoke to the fact that the workout number 2 did not really simulate a race level effort. It was meant to maximize on your sprint capacity by giving you plenty of rest and full recovery, and then sprinting out of that low level power. At the end of this workout, we're going to endure a couple of intervals that are going to more accurately approximate what you may see in a race, so that you'll be building up power and then you will be sprinting out of a VO2 max level effort. So be prepared for that. That is going to be new. That is going to be an expansion on workout number 2, which is another example of why you want to follow these in order so that you are properly prepared for the workouts to come. But I will go more into detail on how the intervals break down, some additional tips if I come across those types of things in context as I do this workout. So let me get my bike together and get on, and I will get this workout done. And for those of you who are very OCD and a little neurotic like I am, a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, if you will, you're going to be really pissed off at this workout because it's 58 minutes and 50 seconds. Really, Zwift? Really? 58 minutes and 50 seconds. You couldn't find us an extra minute and 10 seconds of warm-up or cool-down? 58 minutes and 50 seconds. Okay, that's cool. But without any further ado, let me get ready and get on the bike, and I will give you more details when I'm done. Well, I finished my 58-minute and 50-second workout. Thank you very much. So there. I should get a trophy. And a cookie. Or a trophy in the shape of a cookie. With cookies in it. I don't really know how that would work. I do know that I'm an idiot, so there's that. But it should come as no surprise to you guys that the sprint level workout is going to be more difficult than the workout we saw in number 2. As we progress through the weeks, things are going to become a little bit more difficult, more challenging, tax your system a little bit more, and in the same vein, you're probably getting stronger as you practice these over and over again with the group workouts and the races. That's the point of the academy. So hopefully you're prepared for this workout, but I'm going to start by going through the structure of it. The list view makes it look like there's a lot of different intervals. There is a little bit of variation there, but these are pretty much repeating intervals, so it's actually not as complicated as it looks at face value. But I'm going to go through that real quick, and I'll give you some thoughts on how the workout went and how you can best prepare for it. So you're going to start with that 10-minute ascending warm-up, which is very similar to what we've seen in the prior warm-ups. It's going to start at 50% of your FTP and top out at 70% of your FTP. So this really isn't doing much to raise your heart rate or your power at all. You're really just getting that blood moving and getting prepared and warmed for the work ahead. So not as challenging as some of the other warm-ups. You definitely don't go as high in the power ranges. Then you're going to go into 3 minutes at 55% of your FTP, which is basically that steady state that they really enjoy. And then you're going to do your priming set to round out the warm-up. And this is going to be 3 sets of 30 seconds on at FTP and a minute and 30 seconds off at 55% of FTP. So you're going to repeat that 3 times. And you're thinking probably 30 seconds at FTP, that's nothing. It's like walking to the end of the driveway. But the point on this particular interval is to reach that FTP at 115 RPM or higher. So you are going to be looking at that neuromuscular engagement, which is really important when it comes to sprints, because if you're sprinting properly, you are probably at a very high RPM, especially when you run out of gears on the road. You're just going to have to be able to rely on that high leg speed. So this is going to get your brain and muscle connection ready for that type of work. After that priming set of 3 reps, you are going to go to 2 minutes at 55% of your FTP, and then you're going to go into your first sprint. Now, the sprint is actually called out as 6 seconds, but the intervals are laid out for 10 seconds. I actually kind of like that in terms of this workout because it gives you enough time to rev up and spin up so you can hit your max power and then hold it for 6 seconds. So you have a little extra room on either side. You are looking at a target of 6 seconds of maximum power, but you have 10 seconds of free ride in the workout to do that. So you're going to do that 10 seconds on for the sprint, and then you're going to get 3 minutes off at 50% of your FTP. You're going to repeat that 3 times. So in these particular sprints, it calls out standing max all-out sprint. So basically a sprint to the finish line, give it everything you got, and then you're going to get a full 3 minutes of recovery, which should give you enough time to fully recover your heart rate. I know for me, that first 10-second on, my quads were a little bit stiff. I don't think I got enough of a primer. I might have done an extended warm-up if I knew this in advance, maybe done a little bit more of a primer on my own before entering the workout, but that's okay. You know, it's 6 seconds, and then I was prepared for the next 2. After that, you are going to go into a 20-second sprint interval. So this is a similar construct. It's really looking for 15 to 20 seconds of work, but it gives you the full 20 seconds in free ride mode. Again, that's when erg shuts off and lets you go in free ride mode. It does tell you in the on-screen instructions to prepare you for it, but it gives you the opportunity to spend 2, 3, 4 seconds really revving up and getting at least 15 seconds of solid all-out sprint level work. The option is to do this either seated or standing. I recommend you do a little bit of both. You're going to have 3 of these again, and try 1 seated, 1 standing, and maybe 1 combination, and see if you can build your power over the course of the interval instead of spiking at the top and burning out towards the end. I noticed that that's kind of how some of my intervals go. I started a really nice high peak power for a few seconds and then drop off over time. Some of the best sprinters in the world have mastered being able to continue to accelerate through their sprint for 10, 15, 20, 30 seconds even. So I am certainly not a sprinter, but if you look at your power curves and your profile, you might notice some trends there, and it's something that you might be able to work on in these sets. For these sets, however, you're going to get 4 minutes of rest in between. You're taxing your system for 3 times or more of the duration of the sprint, so it's going to give you an extra minute of rest. And trust me, if you're doing these right and you're giving it a maximum level effort, you're going to need that extra minute to really prepare yourself for the next interval. After your 3 by 20 seconds on, 4 minutes off, you are going to move into a race-like effort. This is what I was talking about in workout number 2. You didn't have any of these. This is going to simulate a race-type scenario where you're sprinting to the finish. You are already fatigued from doing these 6-second and 15 to 20-second sprints. You've done 6 of them now. If you've done them right, you should already be pretty fatigued. So you're going to do 1 minute at 90% of your FTP, then you're going to do 1 minute at FTP, 30 seconds at 120% of your FTP, and then you're going to put in a 10-second all-out sprint. These are going to feel really hard at this point. You should be really fatigued. That type of ramp up is difficult as it is, but you've already been fatigued throughout the course of the workout. This is going to be very much like what you would endure in a race, especially something like a crit where you've got a lot of surges. You got a little bit more recovery in this workout, obviously, than you would in a race, but you burned a lot of matches here with all of those sprints. So you're going to do that build up, do your 10-second sprint, and then you're going to get 5 minutes of rest. Then you're going to do it again. So you've already wiped yourself out and sprinted to the finish, theoretically, and then you're going to do it one more time. So you're going to do 1 minute and 90%, 1 minute at 100% of your FTP, 30 seconds at 120% of your FTP, and the 10-second all-out sprint. So you've done a lot of sprints in this workout. It's 8 total, and then you are going to get your cool down. And I'm going to throw some stones at this cool down because I think it sucks. I think this minute and 10 seconds that they left off the workout, they could have slotted in something here, because what they did is made you come out of that sprint at 65% of your FTP to start the cool down. That sucks. If you've done that sprint correctly, you do not want to be pulling 160 or 65% of your FTP. It doesn't sound like much, but if you've actually done a proper sprint, you're not going to go right back into your zone 2. You want to spin those legs really lightly. They should have slotted in 30 seconds, a minute, whatever it would be, at like 30 or 40% of your FTP, just so you can keep those legs turning with zero tension, basically, under the pedals. Because I went into that 65% like 50, 60, 70 RPM trying to just keep the pedals moving because I'm in erg mode. I could have turned erg mode off and just done whatever I want, and I probably suggest that you do the same, but that just seems kind of silly. They left a minute and 10 seconds off of this workout to round out an even hour, and they make you go directly from a sprint level effort to 65% of your FTP. That was the first time in any of these workouts that I saw something that I perceived to be really kind of dumb. But that's okay. The rest of the workout was really good. I really did like that type of workout. I came out of it much more tired and fatigued and broken down than in the second workout. I thought that the second workout was pretty easy, but we are trying to work our way up as we get through the academy, so that made sense. Well, I certainly listened to music today. This was not a podcast or audiobook type of day, so I recommend that you find some music that you like, 180 BPM or higher, even better, something good and motivated that will keep you on the power, because as you progress through these sprints, your power is going to get lower. Don't get discouraged with that, because if you're doing them right, it should get lower. If you're giving it a maximum level effort, you can't give a maximum level effort every time and expect the power to increase. So don't be discouraged by that. Just keep yourself encouraged with some good music or whatever it is you like on the bike. In terms of fueling, I mentioned it before, come in fueled. It's obviously important. I took one gel. It doesn't taste like pennies. Towards the beginning of this workout for just a little bit of sugar to draw off of. Came in handy. Come in hydrated too. If you're anything like me, you're going to be a bit of a camel. So I don't drink very much. I don't sweat a ton either. If I have a fan or moving air, I don't tend to sweat a ton. Like, the air cooling seems to be good for me and my physiology. It doesn't mean that I'm not losing fluids. It doesn't mean I'm not losing electrolytes, and sometimes that hurts me in the long run because I forget to drink. So I come into these workouts hydrated, and then use the on-screen cues. They will remind you to drink. It came in handy because it was just that visual reminder, oh yeah, grab my bottle, take a couple gulps of something to drink. Even though I wasn't necessarily feeling thirsty, I knew it was important to drink. So that will definitely come in handy if you're watching those on-screen instructions. This is a good workout to play around with form and cadence as well. You get the opportunity to do seated, standing, a combination of both, making sure that you are positioned in a way that's effective over the saddle and gripping the handlebars appropriately. clearly this is going to be a different sprint than what you would see on the road. You don't have that bike throw. You don't have quite the same form and positioning as you would outside, but you can still maximize on what you can do indoors. It's just going to be different. It's going to be a different execution of power, but you're still engaging and wiping out those fast twitch muscle fibers. You can find a position that will help you to optimize on that type of utilization. You know, if you're not a super strong sprinter, this is a really excellent workout to come back to. It gives you a lot of sprint work in a very short amount of time, and you should be working your weaknesses. It's all well and good to work your bread and butter. If you're a climber, you're always doing climbs. If you're a sprinter, you're always doing sprints. Find workouts that are effective at working your weaknesses, and if sprinting is your weakness, definitely check this one out. I've mentioned before in the prior workouts, don't be discouraged with low power in terms of sprints either. I've noticed that my sprint power on Zwift is at least 200 watts low. That's fine. It's not relevant what my road power is in terms of sprint. What's relevant is my known sprint power on Zwift, and I can use that as a barometer. So what you got from workout number 2, keep those numbers in your head. Granted, those were seeded, but you can make some assumptions and some extrapolations with those numbers as to what you should get here. And come back to this workout more than once. Like I said, this is a great workout, especially if sprints are your weakness, to come back to again and again. I know that this is something that I'm going to keep in the arsenal to continue to work. Although I probably will take this and feed it into something like Trainer Road because, again, Zwift, get on that, will you? Please? Please? I'm asking nicely. Fix will ya? This might be one of those workouts that would be fun to do as a group workout. I think it will be showing up in the next week or so it might be fun to do it with a group of people around you. You're going to stay rubber banded together, but in those sprints and free rides, you can kind of race against each other in these small levels. You're still going to have some relative difference in your positioning of your avatar on the road, so sometimes just working in a group gives you a little extra impetus to push for that arch and push all the way through the arch if you can. Try not to putter out the 3-4 seconds. Don't cheat yourself. Try to go all the way through. If you really have wiped yourself out on power, that's okay to back down. But if you have that little extra to push, don't start to back down when you start to get that audible cue or that visual cue that you're coming to the end, because in a real race, you have to go all the way through the finish line. And the last thing I'll mention, and I probably should have mentioned this earlier in the series, and it just simply didn't occur to me, that when you're doing these high intensity interval type workouts and you're anything like me and you're working till 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the evening during the week and your workouts are forced to be later in the evening, the dinner hour, or even later, they can be extremely disruptive to your sleep, and sleep is extremely important. And they're disruptive for a couple of reasons. First, you're spiking up your core body temperature. And another element is that your hormones, your endorphins, all of these things are flowing like crazy, and it's helping to build energy, not calm you so that you can go to sleep. So there are a few things that you can do to help mitigate those effects. One of those is obviously cooling yourself down quickly. I did a recipe video the other day. I'll link it up here for recovery ice cream. It's basically just a protein ice cream. The recipe is delicious, by the way. I really recommend that you try it. And I listed the recipe right in the show notes, so you can just copy and paste that into your notes or something like that and just run it. You don't have to watch the whole video, but I do talk through some of the effects. But you're not only getting the benefit of preserving some of that lean body tissue by taking in protein soon after your workout and then restoring your carbohydrates with a meal as well, but you're also bringing that core body temperature down very quickly by ingesting that very, very cold food that's cooling you from the inside out. You can take a nice shower. It doesn't have to be a cold shower. It just needs to be something that brings your body temperature down. If you take a nice shower and then you kind of cool off, that helps you to prepare for sleep. Now, I'd recommend against sleep aid use, minus what you might be prescribed from your doctor for something like a sleep disorder, including things like melatonin. Even though melatonin is natural, there have been a number of studies to prove that long-term use of melatonin can vastly decrease or even eliminate the body's natural ability to produce melatonin and even create the exact opposite effect of what you were hoping to glean from taking something like melatonin. Things like CBD oil, depending on your position or opinion on using CBD, has been proven effective in early studies. We're still in the infancy of utilizing CBD in the mainstream. But if you don't want to take it orally or ingest it, you can also use it in a diffuser. Using the essential oils for CBD can be just as effective to creating a calming environment and help you to fall asleep. Things like lavender also do the same type of thing. Using things like cooling blankets or sheets, or even having a temperature-controlled bedroom that keeps things cool will help you to elicit better sleep and keep that core body temperature down. Do some research. There are a lot of tips, tricks, and hacks that athletes can use to harbor good sleep even after they've done a high intensity workout later in the day. We have to deal with what we have as athletes, right? Most of us don't have the luxury of just training 24/7. We're not pros. We still have to go and do our jobs and live our normal lives, and we do this for fun, but we don't want it to come at the expense of our sleep or our health. So look into some of that stuff. I know it can be a challenge, but you can work around it if you get a little bit creative and use some of these tricks and be a little bit diligent. But at any rate, I hope that some of these tips and tricks were helpful. I hope that you're enjoying the Zwift Academy series for the road. I hope that you will join me for the Tri series as well coming up. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to list them down below. I would love to engage with you guys more down there. Hit the thumbs up button if you like this video. As I've mentioned, it really does help the channel and helps other people find it that might find it to be useful as well. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that bell because it seems to be the trendy thing to do these days. Thank you guys for making it all the way to the end of the video, and I will catch you in the next one. See you.